Hey all, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to delve into something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm kind of getting tired of doing the old JB Weld fixes. I've been talking about getting a AC Tig welder for quite a while. Today's the day. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at this welder. I picked it up secondhand. It's like brand new. They used it like one time. And then I guess his partner skipped town or something like that. So they no longer needed it. I picked it up at a really good price. I picked up a cart. We're going to get that built. We've got an argon tank for it and a couple other accessories. And I got a whole bunch of consumables. We're going to try and get this thing going. Stick around. All right, so I'm going to start right off. Full disclaimer here. I can MIG weld. I can stick weld, gas weld, solder, glue. I can do all that stuff. I've never TIG welded a day in my life. I have watched a YouTube video on how to do it, so I feel like I'm going to be a pro right out of the bat. And we're starting off with aluminum and cast aluminum at that. So if you really want to see me mess everything up, just get right into it here. This is what we're going to do today. Watch me embarrass myself. Let's take a look at this welder. This here is the old Harbor Freight Pro Tig 205. This does stick and TIG welding. TIG stands for tungsten inert gas. It's just an inert gas, and it uses a tungsten filament to create an arc, to melt your metal, make a little pool, and you got to dip a filler rod in, much like gas welding, oxyacetylene welding, unlike MIG welding, which stands for metal inert gas, and that does everything for you. It feeds the wire in as you weld. It's probably one of the easiest ways of welding. Stick welding's fairly the same way as well. You use the stick creates the arc and it feeds itself in. However, stick doesn't require any gas usage. Most of the time the stick has a flux coating on the outside. To weld aluminum, which is really mostly what I need this thing for cracked cases, damaged drain plugs, whatever it might be, you need to use AC TIG. They do have some spool guns that will do aluminum feed on a MIG welder. Very difficult to do. This is probably going to be your best bet and your cleanest welds. Of course, I won't make clean welds because I've never done it before. So what I've done is I've set this up for what most people say, or most professional welders say, is the best initial settings for doing AC TIG on aluminum. And then we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. My local gas supplier does not fill tanks, and my only options for the argon tank would be to either rent one from them or buy one. And honestly, I just purchased this recertified tank, steel, super cheap. It's a 60, and I'll just go and turn that in and get a refill from them. All right, so instead of lugging this thing around, seems the smartest thing to do is get a cart for it. So let me get this thing cut open, unboxed, and we'll get it assembled. I'm not going to mention the name of the cart manufacturer. I'm not on speaking terms with them anymore, and I'll probably get into that a little bit later on a different video, a follow-up kind of video. So if there's any labels here, we're going to blur them out. There's a lot of pieces here that are similar looking, and I hate to say it, but I might have to read the directions. But just know that I don't want to, so don't pull my man card. Not sure I can fit any more in my garbage bag over there either. Might have to do something about that. Looks like these are all about the same size bolts, so should make it pretty easy. Well, that's it. Car's built. Let's see if the welder fits on it. No, sir. Not even close. Can probably make it work if I nix this handle. I don't think I really need it. That'll work. I'll just strap it down. So when I went to get my tank filled, they did not have any 60s, so he went ahead and swapped it out for an 80 at no additional charge. So bonus. Always want to drop these chains on. You don't want these cylinders to fall over. They're very high pressure and they can take off like a rocket. All right, this unit comes with a dual gauge setup here for the argon gas, 100% argon for AC TIG. The professionals say that a flow meter like this is a much better idea. That's a lot more accurate in dialing in how much gas you're getting to your welding torch. So we're going to go ahead and install this. Kit comes with a gas line. This flow gauge comes with a couple of adapters. Gonna make one of them work. Let me turn on the gas, make sure we don't have any leaks. Looks good. So I wired this thing to use 220 volts so I can get the maximum amperage out of the machine. Not that I'll probably need it, but because this unit does do stick welding, it does come with a stick welding clamp. If you were going to do stick welding, you'd put your flux coated filler rod in here and you just spark that against your material and run your bead that way. This machine can also be used on 110 just by changing out this cord. Obviously it's going to limit your amperage, your welding amperage. We do have a foot pedal here, and this is going to control our amperage to our torch. So we can keep our amperage high on the machine and just step on the gas when we need a little bit more boost. Next we're going to hook up our ground lead, and normally you'd want to put that on the negative. Black wire goes to the negative, but I guess doing TIG welding it's backwards, so we're going to put that to the positive, turn it and lock that in. Now I've got my TIG torch, and I don't think they never even used it. They never even set it up. So let's take a look at this thing on the bench. The kit comes with a bunch of consumables. However, I ended up buying a consumables kit that was recommended. And the reason being is because we want to use a gas diffuser. I don't know what they have in here. Let's take a look at it. So they use a different type of collet system on this one, and you can see there's a screen in there that diffuses that gas. I guess it's supposed to work a little bit better than the stock setup. And then of course they have different collet bodies depending on which size tungsten you're going to use. I've got 3/32 blue, and that's 2% lanthanated. I don't know what any of this stuff means, but I just hope it works. Probably not starting off well. So there's a bunch of different gas lenses. I guess I gotta find the one that fits this. We'll be looking at the 3/32, of course. It says 1/16. As it turns out, the first one I pulled out was a 3/32, so it's the right one. Now, so we get to assembling the torch head. The piece that actually conducts the electricity is called the tungsten, and it's blunt right now, but this will need to be sharpened, and obviously the instructions will tell you how to sharpen it and for what material you're using. So right now the tungsten will just kind of fall through the torch. We need a way to hold it in there, and that's where we're going to use our collets. So what a lot of guys like to use is one of these, and it's got a screen. It kind of smooths out the argon flow, and I think they work a little bit better from what I've heard. So that's the one we're going to go with, and the reason why I got this extra kit. So let's go ahead and build this torch. So the hole for this is 3/32, but it still doesn't hold the tungsten in. So what we need is a collet. We're going to look at our 3/32 collet, and this has got little slits in it. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that on the camera, but when that goes through, that will hold the tungsten once the back cap is tightened up. So I'm going to drop that in, stick our tungsten through, and then we use different back caps depending on the size of the tungsten. This one comes with like short, medium, and long. And as you see right now, the tungsten's moving. Once I tighten this up, tungsten's solid. So there's our cap. That's going to direct our flow, and we want our tungsten sticking out no more than 1/2 inch on the end, is what they're saying is a good starting point. All right, so I went ahead and sharpened the tungsten. Stick that back in, and we're going to stick out about 1/2 inch, tighten that up, and that torch should be ready to go. Let's get that plugged into the machine. So along with the tungsten, I picked up a couple other things. Got a good quality tomahawk here. I'm not sure if I'm going to need that for aluminum. Probably not. Got a set of gloves. I've been told that if you touch the tungsten with your filler rod, it'll wake you up, and we don't want to do that. Got a bunch of stainless steel wire brushes, and we got some aluminum welding rod. This is a 40-43, and I was told, or they say, that this is pretty good all around welding rod for doing aluminum, and this is 1/16 of an inch. And from what I was told also, that you should use a welding rod that's about half the thickness of your tungsten. So that's why I got that. Now listen, this is not a class on welding, because if it is, it's for me. I've never done any of this before, so I'm just going off the what the YouTube people say. If there's any welders out there, tell me what I'm doing wrong. What's the correct way, the correct procedure for doing this stuff. And of course, if there's anything you want to let me know now, great. Once you see me weld and blow holes and stuff and shock myself and everything else, then you can really dig in. Well, I guess the only thing to do now is to plug this thing in and do a little bit of testing on some scrap. I don't even have any scrap like aluminum coupons or anything like that, but I do have some engine cases that we can rough up and maybe crack or something like that, or even just run beads on them and see how it looks. But that's where we're going to start. Also have a welding helmet, which is important. All right, let's power this thing on. And I'm going to go through the basic settings that a video I watched told me to start with. And we're going to do 120 amps. We're on AC TIG, of course. I got a 1/2 second pre-flow gas. 120 hertz. I'm going to leave that right there. And I'm going to set this to 66. This is the AC balance. And I believe this has to do with heat into the metal, as in heat into the tungsten for cleaning. And I've got 5 seconds post flow. And pulse we're going to leave off. And I think that's basically where we're at here with this thing. I set up my gas flow to about 15. So I did end up getting some aluminum coupons. I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. Clean this with a little acetone and a stainless steel brush. Then I'm going to go ahead and take this stuff out of here so we don't have any fires. Alright, let me get some gloves on here. Get my helmet on. Yeah, let's give this a shot here. So we did strike up an arc, but I literally can't see anything. I don't know if my helmet's dirty or what. And then I think I want to turn the shade up a little bit. I go all the way up to 13. Alright, let's try this again here. Whew, that is ugly. I think I have too much amperage. So if you look at this, it's very hot. It is definitely going through, but it looks like my puddle is too big. I understand where I'm going wrong here at the finish. I really should put one more dip once I let off the pedal. But it is getting penetration. Well, it just touched the tungsten, so I gotta go clean that up. I don't know, it's not laying down beads. So I'd appreciate it if you guys could tell me in the comments, you know, what I'm doing wrong here. I got too much heat going into this thing. filler rod not large enough. It's ugly. Certainly he's going to take some practice here trying to get the amperage right. I'm all over the place. Not too bad. Doesn't look like I've really even contaminated my tungsten. That's probably the best one yet. Well, I sure would appreciate any tips and tricks from any of you aluminum TIG welders out there. Obviously cleanliness is going to be really important, and I'm kind of being lackluster about that, but anyway, the machine seems to work pretty good. I'm happy with it. First time TIG welding in my entire life. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Well, some of it's pretty shabby, but I think it just basically means that I need a lot of practice. So anyway, throw down in the comments what you think. Any tips and tricks would be great. Appreciate you watching. And I'm just going to keep working on this thing until I can actually, make a weld work. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.